Everyone has a hero in their life, whether it be a family member, a police officer, a teacher, a friend. Literally anyone can be a hero to anyone. But what exactly makes a hero? A simple definition would be someone who helps others and does good for the community at large. If you were to Google what a hero is, it's, quote, a person who is admired and idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Which is why P1 Harmony are heroes by the book. They save their world, and the entire world is eternally grateful for them doing so, calling them their angels, saviors, and most certainly their heroes. Fortunately or unfortunately, I might have to take you back to 10th grade English class for this, but I'm sure most of you have at least heard the cycle of the hero's journey. And even if you haven't heard of it, you've probably consumed some kind of media containing the hero's journey. The basic steps are split into two sections, the known and the unknown. It starts off in the ordinary world, a life that the hero knows, the life that the hero is accustomed to and has lived in for the longest time. However, there's always calm before the storm. The next step, that's the call to action. The event that sends their entire world into limbo and they must do something about it. Now they must make the decision, whether to take a stand or not. It is obviously not an easy decision. Anyone tasked with saving the world would obviously say no. I mean, that's given. That's too much pressure for any normal person. However, it can't end like this. So someone has to give them that push, whether it be a mentor, a friend. Something happens, or someone, a stranger possibly, could give them that push to cross the threshold. And finally, we are now thrusted into the unknown. The hero has to overcome trials and temptations that comes with saving the world. During this period, they can create allies and enemies. The stage is probably the most grueling on the hero's conscience. It makes the hero think whether to give up or give in. But they choose to keep going, and they finally reach the source of the problem. They must be face to face with the ordeal that sent their world into a limbo and fight for their life. Finally, the hero conquers the ordeal and sets their journey back to their home, their known world. However, they come back as a resurrection of themselves. After all that grueling temptations and trials and the final boss battle, they finally come back as a new person. And the hero has now saved the world. P1 Harmony's storyline as a whole follows a standard hero's journey, which is why I felt the need to mention it to you. Because some parts deviate, in which creates their own storyline and makes it unique. There are 3 different timelines in the movie, in the pre-debuting movie that we have to get into. The future, past, and present. They all have a specific role that they play in the overall timeline of their lore. Please take a moment and listen and journey with me through all of these timelines. The world is in shambles, and made what would you expect after an apocalypse? We see an opening scene with a decoy human with a sweet song playing. The drone inches closer and closer, and finally shoots the virus pin into the decoy. Then boom! A net is launched onto the drone. Jong-suk, Deo, and Mr. Han emerge from their hiding spot to fend off the incoming ambush of drones. Nuna is higher up, coming down to join them as they haul the drone like they're holding a hostage. After disassembling the drone, they were able to find a GPS tracker to locate all the other drones. There's still thousands of them out there. There are little to no survivors left, or likely left. Disheartening? Yeah, it is, but that's how it goes. There's nothing we can do about it. So all 3 of them hit the books. Next day, Nuna and Jung-suk are coming back from finding food. Nuna gets trapped in an animal trap, and they made a new friend. So, poor guy, he's Japanese, but he tries his best to communicate with the others in Korean. Well, it's not very good though. We discovered that Seoul was immune to the virus, and their main indicator is obviously the hole where the virus pin got launched into And also, he has heterochromia, likely due to the virus pin already being in his system for so long his body just managed to fight it off internally without causing any physical damage. As for Theo and Mr. Han's adventure, I get really mad during this part, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. But they nearly die due to shooting out the drones, but it could have been avoided, so there's that. Later that night, Mr. Han and Nona talk about next steps. They decide to seemingly take their only way out, a meteor hitting somewhere east of them, which is a sign from Alcade. What that means, they don't know, but they will try anything since all hope is lost. A lot leads up to this, one being the death of Nuna. I know this is a huge oversimplification of what happened, but I'm not here to give you a historical retelling of what happens during this 1 hour and 28-minute long movie. You can watch it yourself though. It's on YouTube, so go check it out. It's really good. This timeline is a perfect representation of the ordeal stage. They haven't conquered it yet, but we're getting there eventually. This is a few years before the apocalypse happened. We are open with a field with Kyo and Jung lying aimlessly on the ground. They both wake up, look at each other, and ask each other, "Who are you? And where are we?" Both look at each other and have no idea who they are. They don't even know what their names are. It's already a bad sign, you can tell. Absolutely no memory left in their minds. Kyo finds a bathhouse locker key in his pocket. They're both very confused as to what this key is for. Somewhere in the background, there's a person wearing a Red Death-esque mask, recording them with a camcorder. They start to chase after the masked person only to get chased down by the two minions of the same man. Those two end up in a secluded neighborhood where they meet a woman, Huisu, who claims to be their friend. After a bit of an awkward interaction, they go check out the bathhouse and find out their identities through a bag that was in that locker, where the key led to. They find out they had plans to go to New Zealand together and were likely friends before this whole debacle happened. They meet Jung's so-called uncle, and they end up leaving and going to what looks like a communal gas station bathroom. And this is where they meet a man and explore their powers some more. Then the man tells them that they are here for a reason and that they must find the source. And they tell him to go find the masked ghost that was recording them before. They manage to find him, only to get captured by his other minions, and being the two people they met on the side of the street and Jung's so-called uncle. However, before they were captured, they were outside and they saw Huisu again, except holding a gun this time, ready to shoot them. But she didn't, and instead shot herself. But that's not important right now. Now let's jump back to them actually getting captured. Here we realize that without the watch and the ring, they have no power at all. And if those items were to be destroyed, Jung and Kyo would cease to exist. The Unk over here very matter-of-factly says that Sajusung has already traveled to 2020 and they are simply getting rid of these two so that his plan goes smoothly. Obviously, they weren't going to let that happen. So cue a really intense fight scene. Afterwards, they get their powers back finally, and they travel to the year 2020. And here we see more of the behind-the-scenes look as to what the hell this virus did to people and how it was created. The more I look into it, the more cult-like this feels. Especially since Wisu's last words were, quote, "I will prove my faith with death. We will overcome their powers and win." Like, girl, prove your faith to who? Sajusung? The Sajusung entity must have been spreading cynic beliefs to these people and manipulating these people into treating him like a god that will supposedly save the world. Like, you know what I thought of this when I saw this for the first time? The quote, "We must destroy the village in order to save it." Anyways, this timeline is the meeting the mentor and crossing the threshold stages and the beginning of the trials and temptation stage. While the future timeline is the ending half of the trials and temptations and the seemingly never-ending ordeal stage. We open with a classroom scene. Intak is sleeping in the back of the class and gets woken up by his friend. Then the teacher jokingly calls him out and class ends. Then we meet a girl named Cheon who is handing out snacks to her friends, and they invited her to a barbecue and asked her to bring the meat. Meanwhile, Intak and his friend go to the internet cafe, and while they are playing, a guy snatches up Intak's phone while he's distracted, and the same guy goes over and hacks into his phone and seemingly collects some kind of data off of Intak's phone, while Intak is completely oblivious to this, and he keeps playing his game until he realizes he's late for dance class, and he rushes off to class and meets his dance coach, and we get to see him dance for the first time. Now back to Cheon. Cheon is back home, and she's folding her clothes while talking with her little teddy bear. As they're talking, her father comes home. Cheon tells her dad about the barbecue and how her other classmates and she was asked to bring the meat. Her father, surprised, says that she'll bring the best meat for her. Then asks her if she's going to bring the teddy bear with her. However, Cheon shuts down, clearly not wanting to talk about it, and heads off to bed. Now we go back to Intak. His friend is watching what looks like to be a live stream, and someone, also wearing a Red Death-esque mask, is talking about how they are going to spread Alcor and it was going to start soon. One more thing. We must destroy ourselves to start over. That's like the biggest quote I want you guys to remember. Before Intak snatches his phone and tells his friend that it's probably misinformation that he's watching, his friend retorts back, "It's based on facts." However, at this moment, Intak is called into his teacher's office to have a conversation. The teacher tells him to make sure to bring in his grandma in for a meeting. Intak is seemingly adverse to this and tries to tell him not to tell his grandma what he's actually been up to. Now back to Cheon. Cheon went to the barbecue just to get stood up by her so-called friends. Reading the messages of the other girl mocking her, she's just distraught. She's crying, and suddenly a man approaches her and asks if she can buy the meat off of her. She says just take it and promptly leaves. The man is confused and then looks over to see a new flower blooming. That's a sign of her powers, which we'll get back to in a second. Then we are back to Intak, and he's back in dance class. After class ends, him and his coach go out to a restaurant and talk for a bit. The topic of Intak's family comes up, and he reveals that he was the only survivor in a fatal car crash that killed both of his parents. His coach tells him that he doesn't have to pretend to be strong. Now, there is much more that happens here, but I yapped for way too long, so let me get to the good stuff. They, Intak and his coach, meet in town square minutes before the apocalypse is in full force. The drones are let loose and all chaos breaks out. His coach gets infected and effectively throws him off a balcony, and Intak dies. No, he doesn't. That gave me a heart attack when I was watching that. Seriously. Not the point. Both Cheon and Intak lose the people that mean most to them. For Cheon, it's her dad, and for Intak, it's his dance coach. And he saves another little girl, and can you guess who it is? Luna. Yeah, I know, right? And it's her younger self, to be exact. This timeline is the ordinary world and the biggest call to action I have ever seen, to be frank. And thanks to Cheon, they were able to send the signs to all the 3 timelines, and they all finally came together. The Disharmony trailer shows a room full of people. In the middle of the room, there is a statue. Then Q hurls a sphere of rock at the statue's face. This isn't any old statue. It's the statue of David created by Michelangelo. Why does this matter, you ask? The story of David versus Goliath is what I'll tell you. The story of an underdog rising to the top. Quote, David hurls a stone from his sling and hits Goliath in the center of his forehead. Goliath falls on his face to the ground, and David cuts off his head. The Palestinians flee, and they're pursued by the Israelites as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron. Sound familiar? Kiyos does the same thing to the statue of David in the Disharmony trailer, which thematically makes sense. The statue represents resilience and the readiness to defend itself from enemies, which isn't exactly the state their world is in at the moment, so destroying it represent the absolute chaos it is in right now. Siren was for P1 Harmony to connect with Plus World. I mean, you can see Theo trying to connect with Plus World and the messages he's sending on his phone. In the epilogue, there is a message that translates to, quote, "It is always the ordinary people that overcome the world's greatest challenges." The ordinary people are P1 Harmony in this case, and they are going to save the world, which leads us into Scared. Scared was for P1 Harmony to break out, hence the album name, and actively taking a stand against the corruption that killed so many people. Again, with the Statue of David imagery, instead of throwing rocks at the statue, the imagery is being distorted, and there's just a bunch of weird reverse audio messages in the TV that's playing. And the overall imagery of the scared envy, the scaffolding, the mask, the color scheme, the cracks in the walls, I could go on forever. They have started a revolution. Siren was to connect with Plus World and stand out against the corruption, and Scared was for them actually taking a stand and starting the revolution and breaking out to stop further suffering. Now, they have finally saved the world. They managed to put all the drones to sleep, or they have just gone dormant. And the toxicity of our core washed out by the heavy rain as seen in the epilogue. And in the coexisting metaverse, there's an ice age. They finally got connected to Plus World. However, they managed to do that. And now we can see we have an actual understanding of what exactly each member's powers are and how they manifest it. Let's kick it off with Kyo. His power is control space and time, so essentially teleportation and time travel. He explains that in Plus World, uses a specific personality trait and manifests that into a superpower. He says he's spontaneous, which makes sense. He can go anywhere, anytime, wherever he wants, on a whim. Next we have Intak. He says his friends call him optimistic, which is a trait that is manifested into him having hyperdurability. He never gives up and never backs down from a challenge, so having this as his power makes sense. Hyperdurability and immortality are two different things. He can still get superficial injuries, but he cannot feel pain or actually die. That's why he always looks beat up in some concept photos, especially during Sad Song. Next up is Theo. He is intuitive. He trusts his gut to make the right shot and never take more than 3 seconds to do so. So of course his power is precise accuracy. Next we move on to Jongso. He is resourceful. So that trait manifests into a power of omnifabrication, which means if you give him 2 pennies in a dream, he can turn that into a rocket ship that can fly to Mars. That power is to take garbage and make it into a masterpiece. I know this is super unserious for the topic we're discussing right now, but Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Perry the Platypus, if y'all remember that show, has the same superpower as Joel, so I don't know, I just found that funny. Sorry. Next, we have Jung. He is meticulous, so that trait manifests into telekinesis or psychokinesis. He is a perfectionist, and even in his Welcome to Plus World video, talks about him developing his power even more, that's all the evidence you need. And lastly, we have Soul. There is a long-standing debate about what his power could possibly be, but I have theory. Let's rewind all the way back to when we first saw him in the movie. We already established that he has something called heterochromia, which is a medical condition that causes one eye to be a different color from the other eye. What Soul has is complete heterochromia. That means one eye is completely brown and one eye is completely blue, in his case. But usually it just means two eyes are completely different colors. If this imagery was a standalone incident, I would not have brought this up. But this has brought up in multiple comebacks. So having eyes like this are super prominent during Jump era, which we'll get into in a second. Complete heterochromia has spiritually been connected to the power of being able to see multiple realities and being a protector of those realities. Hence the ending of the Jump music video. He is the protector of Plus World. but what personality trait could possibly manifest that power? I would say being empathetic. Multiple times the members and others outside of P1 Harmony have said that he's very empathetic towards others. Empathy is being able to understand people's feelings and being able to relate to them as well. So seeing other realities and understanding what other people are feeling would probably go hand in hand, in my head at least. If Siren was to connect to Plus World and to stand out against the corruption, and Scared was for actively taking a stand and starting a revolution and getting others to do so, then what does Do It Like This add? After the revolution, they started with Scared, finishing what they started, essentially. In the prologue, there is a quote, "The light divided the darkness, and there was morning, the first day," which some of you might recognize because it refers to Genesis 1:3-5. Do it like this. This was a reset. It was for the creation of actual harmony and freedom for the entire world. Now we are in harmony. We can finally live out our lives the way we wanted to. This is clearly reflected in the shifts of colors, from the dark muted colors to the bright pastels and creams, the crystals, the light, the fun, especially in the Doom to Doom music video. The world is completely anew, where we can be ourselves and not have to succumb to the horrors of reality before. However, Back Down was a bit of a shift from this. Not just because of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as concept and design, but also because up to this point we did not have a good idea of how exactly they managed to create an Ice Age. But now we do, until we got introduced to Harmony Protocol. It was something that Jungsook was fixing up at a huge red button. It was a huge red button that could do something, but the guys had no idea what it was. So they were all fighting over who depression or not. They were separated into teams of 3, and the entirety of the Back Down music video was them just fighting over this damn button, whether to press it or not. Spoiler alert, they did press it in the epilogue all together. And the hatch leading outside them opens up, and we see Jungsook go out and see the beginning of the Ice Age with little flurries coming down. Now we revert back to the more peaceful, bright, fun colors imagery with Jump. We already talked about Soul's power, but I wanted to add this. In the first teaser, it was called Bearing My Soul, which means to reveal one's most private thoughts and feelings, which makes sense because considering Soul in that teaser was wondering what the hell's power was. But we already theorized what that means, so we don't have to get back into that. Jump is a direct cause of the kicking on Harmony Protocol. The world is much brighter, calmer, more fun, and it just feels like we can finally let go and jump and have fun for once. This was just in Plus World, but what about the real world? In the Killing It trailer, there are so many ports of sun and peace. I mean, if I suddenly woke up to the world being completely different, I'd be pretty confused too. And it shows a shot of Jungsook's computer, which basically shows the real world and Plus World, and a bear connecting it together in almost a tidal-like motion. So we can pretty much say whatever happens in Plus World has a direct effect on what happens in the real world. But you probably already figured that out by now. The guys at the talk of the town, I mean, yeah, you save the world, people are gonna have a lot of questions. I'm not even gonna lie, I think Killing It is the more fun side of them. They don't have a care in the world. I mean, they sure as hell are not trying to be heroes right now. I mean, we can see in their shift and the perspective on their duties as heroes. Not that they don't want to, they're still doing interviews and still in the public eye, as shown at the end of the Killing It music video. They just have other priorities at the moment, whatever that means to them. Hanging out, goofing off, doing non-hero things, because heroes can have fun too. Compared to the Disharmony and Harmony series, this is a new era of P1 Harmony. Killing It was fun and all, but what comes next? After Killing It, we have Sad Song. During Killing It, they didn't seem too concerned with being heroes, and they were just having fun, being menaces and all. However, Nothing lasts forever. In the first sad song teaser, the members are alerted of a burning store. They go to the store only to buy something from there and not even attempting to save the octopus guy from burning. Someone else was extinguishing the fire as the members passed by. In the final scene of the teaser, it was them watching the store continue to burn, and notice how the banner of Kyo's Killing It makeup was covered. And on that same banner it says Adventus Verus Heron, which is Latin, and in English it translates to the arrival of a true hero. So having this covered is them turning a blind eye, quote unquote, to the chaos that they're actively avoiding. In the sad song MV, their members are in a repair shop. Why does this matter? Well, their powers aren't working as well as they're expecting. Jung's telekinesis is much weaker and he can only make confetti float, which the members are not impressed by. Theo's accuracy has gotten worse, and the arrow he shoots and misses and injures his arm in the process, hence the cast in one of his solo shots. Hughes' control of space and time is reduced a lot, and it's only for a short period of time. Intuk's hyper durability isn't doing him any good as he has so many band-aids and still is getting hurt. Soul's parallel viewing caused him to crash into a pole and spill all the flowers everywhere, and he's still lost. In Jungso's omnifabrication, his inventions are not working the way he wants them to, no matter how hard he tries. Hence why they're in a repair shop to quote-unquote repair their powers. But once again, nothing lasts forever, good or bad. The guys were able to get back into business. By the end of the music video, they were able to get their powers back up and running. Everywhere you can see these messages on the wall like Sol estiam solus. Yeah, it's all in Latin. And it translates to, are you the sun alone, but always shines in the light. And Theo's second arrow that had the message, the sun is alone too, but it still shines. And Soul's flowers that were in his moped that he crashed are marigolds. And marigolds represent power, strength, and the light that lives inside of a person. Does this all sound really familiar? The sun is a repetitive symbol of P1 Harmony's loneliness throughout Sad Song, and that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Now, they are over this lonely phase, and next comes the redemption arc, which may or may not be true, but which is possibly what their comeback in May is going to take us. Like I have already said, I cannot wait for what P1 Harmony has in store for us and where we'll end up in storyline-wise. Maybe some theories will be proven, maybe not. We'll have to wait and find out, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my analysis, and if you have any comments, leave them down below. I would love to read them. And until the next time, peace world, over and out.